The program that you are about to review is the production of a parent advisory group. The members of the group are recounting their healthcare experiences that have occurred over the course of their children's care. The comments are not directly related to the care rendered at any particular hospital and cover a broad range of experiences.
Every year, thousands of children across the country are treated in hospitals for life-threatening illness and injury. Significant advances in technology have made it possible for these children to survive. Unfortunately, there is a disheartening difference between surviving and living a full life. Children with chronic life-threatening illness don't live like other children. They endure pain and suffering children should never experience. Possibly worse than the pain is the loss of self while being treated for their illness.
Our healthcare system is very efficient at treating disease, but sometimes the personal touch is lost in the process. Because there are so many cases to treat, children become just that. Cases, symptoms. It's understandable how healthcare professionals can lose sight of the person beyond the diagnosis. To completely heal a child, they need to treat the whole person, a person with a family. The family is the key to the positive partnership for healing. The family's role in treating their child is often overlooked as a valuable resource.
In an effort to effectively communicate this message to both current and future healthcare professionals, this program was produced by the Parent Advisory Council at St. Christopher's Hospital for Children.
We hope you open up your heart as well as your mind as you experience life from a different point of view. We invite you to take a walk in our shoes.
Children are children first. They're children with special health care needs. They're children, you can call them terminally ill children, you can call them chronically ill children, but they are children and they have families and they have interests and they have lives. And when they leave this place, they have to go back and try to incorporate all their treatments into their life. And it causes a lot of stress on the families to try to do that and keep the child apart, let the kid have the normal childhood that they can.
This child's life is so different than what an average child's life is about. And if they can just be sensitive to that and make you even feel better about it and make the child feel better about it, it makes you feel that they're looking to your child as a person and not just an illness or not just a case or not just a sick child. It's so important that you think the doctors know about your child, know their name, know what they like, know what they don't like.
I think that they have to look at that child as an individual like anyone else and address them not because they have an illness or a disorder, but just as a human being, just like they would want to be addressed.
My child, to see her bald is very upsetting still after a whole year. And to them it's like when they see pictures of Paige and she'll say, oh, here's a picture of me when I had my hair. And they'll say, we just can't relate to you that way, we see you the way you are now, and you're beautiful the way you are now. Well, that's nice, but her cancer is a component of her. It's not all of her. And it never will be all of her. And that's what I want them to see.
I remember when my son was a little boy, and he saw this tree, and he wanted to climb it. And he said, I want to climb the tree. And naturally, I was a little apprehensive about it because of his illness. And I looked at him, and I saw hope in his eyes. I saw that if he decided that this is what he wanted to do, that I should try and let him do it. So I stood there and I watched him, and he climbed the tree. Something that, was said that he wouldn't be able to do, he had done. And I saw the hope in his eyes. And from that day on, he's taught me what hope is really about.
When she was diagnosed, it was just, I thought I would go out of my mind really, and I just, could barely know what to do or how to act. And what I was saying is that I realized that I had two choices. I could stay where I was and feeling hopeless and despairing, or, you know, I could somehow move up and on to having more faith and just taking it a day at a time. And even though it's still, I mean, that's something I still work on every single day, I do realize that that's the better approach, because it's not only helpful for me, but it's the best hope that I can give my daughter.
I think hope is the cornerstone of what keeps you going. You hope that tomorrow will bring something better. You hope that the doctor visits will bring new insight, and you hope that the doctors will have good news for you. You hope that after surgery that all will go well. And even prior to that, you just hope that he will make it through the surgeries. And it's what gives you the ability to survive. It just keeps you going. It gives you the ability to live day to day, where I think you would not have it otherwise.
Hope in our life is everything. We hope for every good day. We hope for a cure. There's no cure for our son's disease. There's treatments, some work, some don't. But we hope every day. We hope that he feels better. We hope for another year. Hope is the only thing we have. And I think what really hurts is when staff put things in such a negative way that it takes away a parent's hope. It just wipes the feet out from under us. Because hope, when you have a child, when there's something with no cure and nobody really knows too much about it, it's kind of like a shot in the dark, and everybody's doing the best they can. Hope is the only thing we have.
When I see them playing together, my youngest son loves to dance and sing, and he likes to stand on our stairs and pretend it's his stage, and he will just perform for hours. My oldest son with the disease, he likes to play sports. So just to go to a game, his basketball game or a baseball game or his football game, and to see him out there actually doing exactly the things that the other children are doing just makes me very happy.
I'll never forget this one nurse. She was there with my daughter day in, day out. It seemed like she never went home, you know, and some of the team that performed the surgery would come down and visit her. But there was always that one special nurse that was always there to meet your needs, to listen. And she laughed and cried with us. But she always, another key thing was, while you're waiting during that surgery, she would always come and update you during the course of it. Here you're sitting in a room with people getting heart transplants, and everyone, the minute the door opens, you're looking up. Is it good news or bad news? Because you're praying your child will live and that she's in pain, and you're just sitting there hopeless and helpless. This nurse was so gentle and so kind, but always kept communicating, was there with us. We'll never forget her.
There are things along the way that help to lighten the burden, and one of those things is, I think, for instance, the nurses, what a wonderful sense of humor they have, and my daughter enjoys, you know, conspiring with them to play tricks on one another and things like that to make her stays, which are often very lengthy, such as the one we're in now, we've been here a week, bearable, you know, just bearable.
We've been treated in the hospital. Sometimes my daughter would be in the hospital for months at a time, and people make mistakes. And she had some mistakes made. And one mistake made her end up in the ICU on a ventilator. She was very sick. And that was bad, but there were two doctors involved with it, and one of them never apologized. They never came and said, "We're sorry this happened." Like, they knew it happened. I heard they were upset about it. One person did, you know, after prompting, and the other one never did. And it still bothers you.
The staff at this hospital made such a big deal about this kid's birthday. And he'll say it was like a revolving door, people in and out all day. Everyone really made a big deal about his birthday. And he was on isolation, so he couldn't go to the Christmas parties and stuff. His birthday's in December. And so they brought Santa to him, you know, and that made his day.
until you're stricken with something catastrophic, your life is so carefree. You have no idea how carefree and how without burden you are. And suddenly when you have cancer, every day you wake up, you have cancer. You have the burden on your back, your child's back. So little things like just being able to get out and drive your car to the grocery store and have some kind of personal freedom, that's a little thing, it's a big thing.
Well, I come to St. Chris only when I'm real sick and in a lot of pain. I come to the clinic for treatment sometimes, blood transfusions.
Janine didn't have any normal skin at all. She had a blistery, scaly skin where if you touched it, it was like, and it brushed against something, it was like a burn, and it would slough off like a burn, and then she had scaliness on top of it. So she needed care 24 hours a day.
It makes me feel very sad to see my child in pain. It is the worst thing for a parent to see their kid in pain and not be able to help them. And in my child's case, I feel so helpless because I can't even say, I'll give you a medicine and take away the pain, because he has so many things going on in his body that there just isn't one pill that's it's not like taking aspirin and make it go away. It breaks my heart to see my son in tears, and he very rarely cries, but when he does, it just about tears me apart.
We're in pain a lot. We have a lot of stresses, coping mechanisms. Basically, when I talk with the staff, we may come off, resistive, assertive, aggressive, but we're in a lot of pain. It's very painful for us, to watch our children go through the surgeries. We feel defenseless and hopeless. And basically just for the staff to listen, even a hug, but realize we're not angry at the staff. We're in a lot of pain, and we're feeling helpless and hopeless at times, and we just need them to be there to listen, to be honest. And it's just really hard to see your child in pain. You wish you could transfer that pain to yourself. And I guess sometimes if you're not in the same shoes as the parents experiencing, it may be difficult to understand.
The difficulty with Daniel was the fact that your whole life changed completely. It was something that no one could ever tell you about, no one could ever explain, and it just completely stops you in your tracks in a normal existence. Now, instead of the normal things of running the school functions and sporting events, you now spend your time traveling. For us, it was 2 hours to Philadelphia. So we were now consumed with long trips and hospitalizations for Daniel, which definitely impacted our older boys then, because they had had a normal life up to this point.
Doctors and whoever other professionals are treating their parents' children, I think, need to be careful listeners. That meaning that they should listen carefully to what parents have to say, because we know our children better than anyone, really. And while we may not have all the medical, terminology, and we don't know all the technical aspects of their illness, we know some other things that can be important, I think, in helping to get our children through whatever it is that they're dealing with, medically. And I would like to feel that I've been heard sometimes more than I have.
It affected our whole family. She was the youngest of 5, and I had 3 boys and 2 girls. And one of the things I can say to parents, which was one physical therapist told me when she was 9 months old and I went to him, he said, I'm going to tell you one thing, with a handicapped child, don't ever become married to your child. Don't let your husband out. And my husband was very supportive, and we both took care of Janine, and even till the end, he was very supportive in her care.
I think the worst experience we've had when we come into the hospital is the emergency room, and the fact that we call ahead of time to make sure that there's someone on call to take care of the needs of our son. And we come in and they're not prepared to deal with him when he gets here. Usually he's dehydrated and he needs oxygen, and those things aren't addressed first. It's always, are you in pain? That's first. And he's always, I'm not in pain, I can't breathe. You know, I need oxygen. And they're not listening to him or I, you know, and I think that that's something that's very important when a child can articulate what's going on with them, that you listen to them.
The stress is unbelievable. My example, my wife and I, and she's a social worker who works with children also, we had 2 dates in 12 years, okay? That's why respite care is so important, to get that break. But the stress level, educationally, your individual education plan each year is stressful. The medical needs. I mean, before our last surgery, we said to the doctor, you know, please let our child live, she's special. In dealing with the pain, you know, we're up with her all night, you know, we take turns getting sleep, you know, she's vomiting a lot, she's in pain. That daily stress of, you know, day in, day out, it takes a toll on you, on your marriage.
Doctors, when they're talking to parents, need to remember that they're talking to parents. And just for 1 minute, think if they were the parent receiving, how would they want it to be talked to? And trying to assess the family unit as a whole and saying, you know, well, this child isn't getting, you know, the treatments like we're supposed to get them. Well, if there's 5 or 6 other kids in the house and mom and dad are working full time, they might not get their 5 o'clock med till 7 o'clock. And, you know, maybe they're not getting in 4 treatments a day. It's not because the parent doesn't care about the health of the child. They're doing the best that they can.
A lot of people don't understand that when you have a child who's chronically ill and really ill, and you have a family, that family grows up with, and the parents, you don't know what normal is anymore. You know, they kind of say that with people who have alcohol-dependent families or whatever. But if you have a handicapped child, you don't know what normal is, because your life is not the same as everybody's at. You know, you have to always think of, well, what am I going to do? You know, what do we do? How do we get there? You know, we have a wheelchair. How do we, you know, can we go there? Can we do this?
If we start working as a team, if we listen to each other, I think that it would help the child and it would help the family as well to be able to cope with whatever goes on with the care of the child. We have to be a team, you know, and when we come, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for teamwork, we're looking for team effort.
The hospital was excellent with their handling of Daniel and my family. I couldn't believe he'd been through several other hospitals before he came here, and I couldn't believe it was much more personal. Like, the doctors were there all the time, they talked to us. They never referred to Daniel as almost like he was not cognitive of anything that was going on, but it was almost like they would never, you would think that he was at all times. So that was very comforting in like the time, because it was such a difficult time emotionally.
I want my son to be treated with respect. I want him to be a part of decision making. I want the doctors to talk to him because it's his body. And, you know, I don't want them to make an assumption that because his diagnosis are these, that he doesn't know what's going on, because he does. And I want him to be treated with respect. I want him to be talked to when the doctors come into the room, or the nurses to talk to me. I want them to talk to him too. He's not just a thing laying there in the bed. I want them to interact and try to include him as much as possible.
Daniel had cardiac arrest at his home school. At the time that Daniel had cardiac arrest, he appeared rather healthy.